Chido.
What up, everybody, and welcome to Studio de Jeffrey de Quarantine, where today we will do Trust the Tape, the defensive edition of Trust the Tape here after Cowboys Falcons just finished doing the defense. And some of the takeaways for you guys, I think on Twitter, the biggest takeaway is that Everson Griffen is mad at me. And that's cool. I said that he didn't play well, and obviously I stand by that. He hasn't played well in the first 2 weeks, but the thing that he's mentioning over and over again is that it's week 2. So the idea would be that you're building up to something with a shortened preseason or no preseason and shortened camp. I can buy that. But I guess we can start there. That was one of those guys that I was excited for the signing. Everson Griffen had really good tape a year ago with the Vikings. And through 2 games, what I'm seeing with the Cowboys is a guy who's getting washed out in run plays by offensive linemen who doesn't have the same juice that he had a year ago as a pass rusher. So that's something that if I just go off of his responses today on Twitter, I'm at JC1053, you would anticipate that he's going to keep growing and getting better as the season goes on, and that's the hope because the Cowboys' front four hasn't been good enough. The pass rush is not getting home at all for these Cowboys. They had 1 sack, and it was a coverage sack where Joe Thomas did a great job dropping into a lane and taking away what Matt Ryan wanted to do, and he ended up having to eat it. And Everson Griffen was the guy who managed to get off a block and get a sack. So it was a nice play for the Cowboys, but I absolutely stand by the analysis that through 2 weeks, he does not look like the player that he was in Minnesota a year ago, and the guy that I was super excited that they signed. Hopefully he will at some point. Now, I will start with this. I think there are 2 guys that were clearly the best defensive players on the Cowboys against the Falcons. Now, obviously, we were talking about a team that allowed 39 points and did not force any turnovers, but still, there are guys that played well, and hell, in some ways, what the defense did was admirable when you consider that they forced punts on the first 2 possessions, and then the Cowboys gave the Falcons the ball on the Cowboys 29, the Falcons 48, and then the Cowboys 22. Like, that's tough, and that's not on them. They didn't pick to have the Falcons damn near start in a red zone 2 of those drives, and on the other one, barely in their own territory, and they managed to hold up. But the 2 players that I want to talk about is Joe Thomas. Linebacker Joe Thomas might have been your best player on the field. Passing game, running game, he was the guy that was shooting blocks. Let me go down to a list of plays. At some point, maybe I will just, I don't know the legalities of it if we're being honest. At some point, I will just pull up the All-22 and kind of maybe talk through it as we go. But here, you'll have to rely on my notes. You had a 2nd and long where Joe Thomas is one-on-one in space against Hayden Hurst and makes the tackle, keeps it to a 2-yard gain, which forces a 3rd and 5. Joe Thomas on a 3rd and 9 in space on a pass to running back Brian Hill, kept it to a 4-yard gain, made them kick the field goal to go up 17-0. Joe Thomas on a 1st and 10, a late pass to Hayden Hurst in the middle. He keeps it to a 2-yard gain. Joe Thomas on 2nd and 9. He's blitzing, and they swing a ball out to Brian Hill. He breaks off his blitz, tackles him to force a 3rd and 2, which is an incomplete. 1st and 10, he drops back 15 or 20 yards to take away a deep in route to Calvin Ridley, which forced Matt Ryan to tuck it and run for 3 yards. Joe Thomas, 2nd and 5, shoots a gap to make a tackle on Todd Gurley for a 2-yard loss and force a 3rd and 7. So there were a bunch of games through this game where Joe Thomas was playing really, really well. He was, if he wasn't your best defender, he was one of your best 2. The other guy that jumps out was Xavier Woods. He was asked to do a lot of different things in this game, whether it was cover a tight end, cover a running back, play down in the box as a run player, as a force player, play single high safety, play the down safety. He was asked to do a lot of different things and made a few plays, but mostly what he did is he did his job. And that's what you need from everybody. The Cowboys have been struggling with just doing their job through 2 weeks. A lot of times they're struggling to have the contain guy do his job. Whoever's the defensive end or the end man on the line of scrimmage, not letting plays get outside. They're struggling to do that. So for Xavier Woods, regardless of where he lined up, he had one where he made Matt Ryan take an incompletion because if he throws it to Hayden Hurst like he wants to, it's either a pick or Hayden Hurst dies. He made some big plays in the run game. Didn't miss any tackles. So Xavier Woods and Joe Thomas, those were your best two defenders on the day. Now, let's go to the corners. This isn't going to be popular. People aren't going to like this. I think Chido is still the best corner on this team for now, and Trevon Diggs will end up being the best corner on this team. Jourdan Lewis didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this and had been hurt, but Jourdan Lewis, he had problems in this game. Gage, Ridley, both of those guys, Jourdan Lewis had trouble playing man coverage. He had trouble staying close enough to contest passes. He had trouble. Chido and Trevon both gave up some plays, but to me, Chido is the guy who, out of all your corners right now, he's just the most fluid when it comes to coverage. The change of direction, the ability to be sticky in coverage, I think right now it's still Chido. Excuse me. Trevon hopefully is going to get there. My issue with him right now is a lot of times they've got him in this off coverage, and when you're 7-8 yards off and now I've got to cover a 23-yard out route from Calvin Ridley, good luck. That's almost impossible. I think for Diggs, where he's going to be at his best is when he's able to challenge people. There's a play later where Atlanta converted a 3rd and 7, and I believe it was Ridley again, and he ran a slant, but because they were playing in a tighter space, Diggs was able to be more physical with him. And, I mean, you're this far from breaking that ball up. It was perfect coverage, just happened to be a completion, which that'll happen sometimes. So for now, I think Chido is their best corner. Diggs is going to trend that way, but I think right now with all that they're asking their corners to do, I just think that Chido is the more fluid mover and able to keep it tighter from whatever coverage you're playing to his man. Diggs and Jourdan Lewis, where they stood out, and I really like this about Diggs, and I've always known this about Lewis, is they are willing to compete with you in the run game. They don't care if they have to take on an offensive lineman. They're going to mix it up, and they're going to be physical. So you love to have that out of your corners, and you love to see that out of a young corner. Trevon Diggs mixes it up in the run game, and he wants to be physical. So he's off to a promising start. It is just a start. So for Diggs, let's see. He almost had an interception on a 2nd and 4 on a post to Calvin Ridley. An earlier throw might be a touchdown, but he did a great job making up and breaking the ball up. Should be a pick. 3rd and 4, they throw a little out route to Gage on Jourdan Lewis, and Lewis is getting there to make the tackle, but Trevon Diggs comes and punishes Gage. The 3rd and 7 slant to Ridley, you couldn't cover it any better. He wasn't able to get a hand on the ball. Chido, let's see, the biggest plays that stand out, they went 3 tight ends, and Calvin Ridley was their only receiver on the field on a 1st and 10 when they were on the 22-yard line. And he kind of ran like a post-out route-ish. Kind of a post-out route. And it was a touchdown on Chido. It's man coverage. It's a fairly long developing play, and Ridley's a great route runner, and he got Chido. He almost had an interception later playing cover 3 on a deep ball for Calvin Ridley. On 4th and 2, Julio got him on a deep out route. But again, all of the corners gave up plays. Chido's not hurting you. And Diggs isn't really hurting you. Where you got hurt in this game the most, I think, was your 3rd cornerback spot. Jourdan Lewis coming off of being hurt and Anthony Brown not being available. The first 3rd down is a 3rd and 2, and Gage kind of routes him up on a slant route, and Jourdan stumbles. Now, thankfully, Gage did drop that wide open. It was thrown a little behind him, but he dropped it. Gurley on a 5-yard run. Jourdan Lewis stands out being interested and aggressive to help in the run game. He fights to get downhill and around or through blocks. Sticks out again when they're down 17-0. Dorrance Armstrong makes a tackle for a short gain, but Jourdan Lewis is in there at the line of scrimmage mixing it up, trying to get involved. Daryl Worley is playing some safety when they're in passing situations. His dropped interception was on a 3rd and 5. They're taking Darian Thompson off the field, and they are putting Daryl Worley in there. And Worley played some free safety, he played some down safety. In this situation, he undercut and should have had an interception, but it turns into a punt. Other than that, on defense, nothing really stood out on the defensive line other than when Tank Lawrence is out of the game, and apparently he's banged up now. When Tank is out of the game, their run defense is hurt considerably. He's the best they got easily at dominating the line of scrimmage and making plays in the run game. He's the best they got. Aldon Smith made a couple of plays in that regard. Joe Thomas was good against the run. But your defensive tackles are really struggling. I don't think they're doing a great job establishing that line. Although, you know what? The Falcons didn't run the ball well against the Cowboys, so I don't want to kill the defensive line this week, but nobody flashed as making really substantial dominant plays. You did have a couple tackles for loss, and you didn't give up anything too big. So I guess we shouldn't complain too much about the way that the interior played. Tristan Hill is the one guy that flashed a couple of times, being to split gaps, beat blocks, and get into the backfield. He did that a couple of times in the game. So Tristan Hill has shown a little bit of promise there. And Tank's still a great run player, but they're struggling to get home. Matt Ryan was so comfortable back there. This team's going to have to consider sending more pressure to try to get some things done defensively. But all in all, I mean, hell, for giving up 39 points, it wasn't quite as bad as I thought. I wasn't watching it going, oh, he played awful, and he played awful, and he played awful, and he played awful. But the only guys that jumped out as being really good, Joe Thomas, Xavier Woods. And if Joe Thomas and Xavier Woods are your best defenders, I also don't think that's a good thing for your defense. You need Aldon Smith to keep playing well and getting better. You need Tank Lawrence to come alive and be able to pressure the passer. You need Everson Griffen to improve and look like the guy that he was in Minnesota a year ago. So that's where this team stands defensively. That's what the tape tells us. Dorrance Armstrong flashed a little bit in his opportunities against the run, by the way. He was getting in there and getting some snaps. So there's that. Tristan Hill was a 2nd and 7. He split a double team and made a tackle for a 1-yard gain that caused a 3rd and 6. Now, on that 3rd and 6, Falcons did a great job of recognizing when the Cowboys were in man. They were doing a lot of motioning pre-snap, and they'd watch Jourdan Lewis or whoever follow a guy and be like, okay, you're in man. And when they did, they ran a bunch of rub routes to get easy first downs. And that's what they did on the 3rd and 6. They motion, they see it's man, and it's Hayden Hurst from the left side coming underneath, a couple of wide receivers coming over. It ends up setting a pick on Jalen, but he was beat on the initial break in. So they got to find ways to minimize how often Jalen is in coverage. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but they need to consider or continue to try to find ways to do that, to keep him out of those situations. And that's that. Oh, man, their touchdown to Hayden Hurst, by the way, it's just great play design. Honestly, I don't know whose responsibility it was, but they run play action, which the play action's coming to the left, right? And so there's your run fake. That play action then turns into a screen look to the left, but Matt Ryan's rolling the other way where he's got a deep crosser coming across. He's got another route over here. So as a defense, you're seeing two big threats. What's going on deep right? And let's talk about this screen deep left. And Hayden Hurst is delayed. Like he's blocking and he's BSing and there goes Julio, and then he pops out. So it's a play that required some time, but it gave time for the free safety to go to the other side of the field. And then other than that, you had Jalen Smith over there, but he was kind of in no man's land looking at the screen. It was great play design, and I don't know for sure what defense the Cowboys were in there. Maybe Daryl Worley just has to trust Chido chasing Julio across to do that and wait, but he never saw a threat coming from that side of the field, and so he took the deep crosser, and then suddenly 2 seconds later, you've got a guy breaking out deep on the other side of the field. So that is the defense. That's trusting the tape on the defense. I will get to the offense at some point today or tonight and try to make another video about that. Leave in the comments what you want to talk about tomorrow, of course. Those are the rules. Make sure you're subscribed. You're mashing the like button. Comment what you want to talk about tomorrow. Send a friend. Check 1053thefan.com every day. I love you. Bye.